Some of you viewing this segment today may be like me. Maybe you didn't grow up where there were school resource officers in the school. But today, the landscape of today's schools in Hot Springs is very different, with a school resource officer in place to help the students. And with me today is Officer Chris Shoemaker, he is stationed here at Hot Springs Middle School. Welcome, Officer Shoemaker.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. This is the last in a series of profiles that we've been doing about the school resource officers and what kind of work that they do in our city's schools. So you're with us today, and some people may be seeing you for the first time. Tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Well, my name is Chris Shoemaker. I've been employed with the Hot Springs Police Department for just about 18 years now. Started out in patrol, moved to special operations. I've done some different things in patrol. I was a drug recognition expert and accident reconstructionist. Got assigned to the middle school 3 years ago. This is my third year now, and that's where I'm at.
So was the first year quite challenging? It sounds like a completely different role from what you've been playing before that.
The first year was very challenging, but with the help of the administration and the administration here and at the police department, it made it a lot easier.
That's great. Well, what exactly does being a school resource officer mean to you?
Well, to me, a school resource officer, and you can ask any school resource officer and they're going to have different questions or different answers for that. To me, it's being able to reach out to the young kids and kind of be a role model, kind of a mentor. If they have problems, they can come, kind of bridging the gap, because a lot of times they don't know a police officer in a good sense. You know, they see the police officer out there arresting people, writing mama tickets and things like that. But we're just average, everyday guys, and I enjoy letting the people here know that.
So that's the feedback that you get from the kids that you talk to, that they don't necessarily have a positive concept of a police officer up front.
Yes, ma'am. Since I've been here for 3 years, it's the same every year. When I come in at the beginning of the year, the students aren't really sure about me. They don't want to talk to me, but after usually about the first 2 or 3 weeks, they realize what I am, that I'm just an average guy, and they come and they talk to me and they tell me their problems, and it's a really great feeling.
It must be very rewarding. Well, you say you're just an average guy, but what type of person does it take to meet the needs of a school resource officer?
School resource officer has to be very laid back, but professional at all times. He has to gain the trust of the students, but also be the student's friend. You have to like kids. If you don't like kids, you're going to fail in this job. That's all there is to it. For instance, I've been involved with youth sports since I was in my early 20s. And I've taught or coached softball and baseball. Been involved with Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and Trail Life USA. So I've spent pretty much the majority of my life dealing with young kids and trying to help them out and show them the right way to go.
That sounds like great preparation for what you do today.
It is. It is.
Now, school safety, I've heard from the other school resource officers, is a big part of the job. What role does school safety play in your job here at Hot Springs Middle School?
Well, when you start talking about school safety, you automatically most people's minds jump to the very heinous crimes that have happened over the past few years. School safety goes a lot deeper than that. Although I have the training to deal with situations like that, school safety can be anything from a trip hazard, a slip hazard, maybe a ceiling tile falling. I'll get with the administration or the maintenance people and get that fixed. My number one goal here is to get the students and the staff home in the same shape they got here, or better.
Oh, that's great. So you're the eyes and ears as you walk around the school to identify any safety issues.
Yes, ma'am. Me and a bunch of other people. Mm-hmm. It's not just me that's involved in school safety.
Well, I met someone in the office who says that she provides intel to you when you're not around.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's Miss Graves. She is my CIA lady. If I need information on a student or try to get a hold of a parent, she knows everybody, and she's able to help me out quite a bit.
Well, that's a good right-hand person to have.
Oh, yeah.
So aside from school safety, what other responsibilities do you have here?
Here I'm in charge of making sure that the grounds are safe. I'm in charge of kind of bridging the gap with the students and trying to help them out. Don't deal with discipline at all, because we're here for a law enforcement type thing only. As far as sending a student to ISS for not doing what he's supposed to do, I don't have anything to do with that. Now, I will have that student come into my office and we'll talk, and I'll explain to him why he needs to be doing better and try to get through to him a little bit. And most of the time it tends to work.
Just a one-on-one is
Just
very helpful?
Just a one-on-one, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do you have any classroom time with the students at all?
I don't have much classroom time here, mainly because I'm dealing with a whole bunch of other stuff, you know, trying to counsel the students, trying to get everybody on track, make sure everything's running smooth. I'd like to have a little more classroom time, but the way the schools works now with the Common Core and everything, it's really hard to get into a classroom because they have a certain amount of time that they have to teach a certain amount of time. So a lot of times I can't get into a classroom, but I do like dealing with the students in the hallways and at lunch and stuff like that.
And do you deal with a lot of the students and parents at the very beginning, right before school and right after school?
Right before school, I deal with everybody down at the intermediate school because I'm directing traffic.
Is that a big
And
part of what you do?
That is, I direct traffic for about 45 minutes in the morning and about 45 minutes in the afternoon. And when I'm not there, it's a mess. You can't hardly get in there. But that's a big part of what I do in the mornings down there. When I'm here at this school, I'm dealing with students all day long, talking to them and having a good time and trying to get them on the right path.
So there are a lot of people trying to get in and out of the middle school and the other schools nearby. What would you say to parents if you're not there to direct traffic in the morning? What should they do?
Stay off their cell phones. If they'll stay off their cell phones and pay attention to what's going on, I probably wouldn't even be needed down there.
So that's the big,
that is the
number
big
one.
Thing.
No, are you hearing out there about
Stay
your cell
off
phones?
your cell phones.
Okay, very good. Out of all of your responsibilities that you have here that you've been describing, what's the biggest challenge, or what are the challenges here?
I would say the biggest challenge that I deal with, and it's not just me at this school, it's nationwide, is probably the problem with bullying. Students here get bullied, and back when we were in school, you could get away from it, and you get on the bus and go home, and it was over for the night. On the weekends, it was done. With social media now, you walk out the front doors and get on the bus, and you're still being bullied. It's a daily thing here, as it is with any school. What I like to do when I get a report of bullying, and the administration handles a lot of it, and I handle a lot of it, is I'll call the students that are involved into my class, into my office. And I'll sit there and I'll talk to them, and I'll tell them about the pitfalls of bullying and what the laws are and this kind of thing, and then I'll have them talk to me. And most importantly, I'll have them talk to each other. And I have honestly had a little session with them at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they couldn't stand each other when they walk into my office. At 11:20 lunch break, after the little discussion, they're down there on the playground talking to each other, hanging out, and they're friends. So I think a lot of bullying is kind of a he said, she said, and it finally gets around to that person, and it's just misunderstanding. And once we get the conversation going, then they realize that, hey, maybe that's not really happening, and they kind of become friends. Not saying that happens in every situation, but a lot of situations.
And it seems to be generally true in life that a little communication goes a long way, especially if the communication is person to person rather than hiding behind the anonymity of a cell phone, or, as you say, continuing that bullying outside of school when kids are physically around each other's presence.
Yes, ma'am.
It can continue 24/7, can't it?
It can.
It's a very different world that we live in today.
And the part of being able to have the students talk to each other, a lot of what we do here is try to teach them problem-solving skills for later in life. When they get out in the real world, they're not going to have someone sitting there saying, this is what you need to do. They're going to have to make these decisions on their own. So when I can sit there and have them talk to each other, and they can work the problem out amongst themselves, then that not only helps the situation right now, but it's going to help situations later on in life also.
Certainly dealing with difficult people is not unique to just the school setting.
No, it's everywhere all the time.
Yeah, so if they can learn how to do it here with your encouragement to have them talk with one another face to face and work things out, conflict resolution will stick with you for the rest of your life, won't it?
Yes, it will.
Well, that's great. Well, we've talked about the challenges, but let's wrap up by talking about the rewards of what you do. You say you've been here for 3 years, so as you look back at all the experiences you've had, what's the most rewarding thing about this job?
I would have to say the most rewarding thing about this job is being able to get through to the students that are having problems. When they come into my office and they talk to me, and there's a problem at school, at home, wherever, and they finally have enough courage to come and confide in me, and then I'm able to help them out with that problem. And you see a student who's just kind of down and depressed, who's not usually that way, and you call them to the side, you talk to them, and you help them out with the problem, and then a few days later they're smiling, they're laughing, then that's probably the greatest reward there is. I have students that I had 3 years ago who are now in high school that I haven't seen in a year or two that will see me in Walmart and run up and give me a hug and talk to me. And that's the most rewarding part of this job.
How fantastic that is. That you're able to make a difference in the students' academic life, I'm sure, too, if they have problems that you've helped them learn how to resolve. That can often spill into grades as well.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. If a student's depressed and having problems, it's going to affect his schoolwork. I can help them with just about anything but math. Math is a problem with me, so.
I'm with you on that.
But I can find somebody to help them out, so.
Well, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
spending some time with us today and talking a little bit about what it means to you personally to be part of the Hot Springs Middle School setting, to be able to work with the kids here every day. I'm sure they're very lucky and blessed to have you.
I'm lucky and blessed to be here.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you.
And next week, we'll bring you more city news.